The main character of the film is Dusty, a plump, old-fashioned, carefree man. He enjoys dining out and watching old movies. Despite technological advancements and the evolving world, Dusty remains stuck in the 1980s, avoiding the use of smartphones. He considers texting a waste of time and finds emojis weird. Dusty is concerned about millennials and dislikes teenagers with differing opinions. The video begins with Dusty sitting in his car, devouring a burger and listening to 80s rock and roll. At 50 years old, he leads a carefree life without a full-time job. This lifestyle has cost Dusty his friendships, but he remains indifferent. A group of millennials catches him on video, making him visibly uncomfortable. However, due to his extreme shyness, he doesn't utter a word. After a while, Dusty's niece Chloe joins him in the car, and the two head to the movie theater, continuing their tradition of watching movies together since Chloe was little. Despite appearing close, the age and habit differences highlight Chloe's unconventional relationship with her paternal aunt. This becomes evident when Dusty plays an old song that Chloe finds boring. Upon arriving at the Synthrax movie theater, the uncle and niece argue about the movie choice. Dusty prefers a classic 80s film he has seen 10 times, while Chloe wants to watch Chosen, a 3D exclusive at Cinetrax. Eventually, Chloe prevails, and they join a queue surrounded by millennials taking selfies and texting. Uncle Dusty is visibly disgusted by their behavior and is dismayed by the expensive movie tickets. Chloe reluctantly covers the cost of the tickets, and as they proceed, all Synthrax employees, including the train conductor and security guard, display strange and gloomy expressions. Before entering the main room, Uncle Dusty discards the 3D glasses, which he calls Transformers, expressing his disdain for 3D movies. He brings regular glasses to Chloe, who he expects not to wear them. Dusty takes the initiative to visit the cafeteria and buy popcorn. Some millennials confront him, questioning if he mistakenly entered the 3D section. Dusty, a movie fan, simply states his passion and leaves. Entering the main theater, Dusty finds the director of Cinetrax, a handsome guy named Zach, who is flirting with Chloe. However, as soon as Dusty approaches them, Zach makes an excuse and leaves. At the same time, two of Chloe's friends arrive and sit next to her. It turns out that Dusty's plan all along was to use movie time with his uncle as an excuse to get out of the house. Dusty is upset that Chloe doesn't spend time with him and also because his friends took his place. He tries to get her to sit with him, but Chloe refuses. Dusty sees his uncle as a boring man who embarrasses him in front of his friends at every opportunity. Hearing this, Dusty becomes sad but still decides to sit in Chloe's seat. Soon, Zach takes the stage and announces that the movie is about to start. He makes rules that no one can use their phones, and everyone must put on their Cinethrax 3D glasses. Millennials are pumped with the announcement and express excitement. Then the movie, Chosen, finally begins. It's a love story with a rather odd cast and stories, but with ultra-realistic 3D action that millennials love. They scream and cheer in literally every dialogue. However, Uncle Dusty, who is not wearing glasses, is disappointed in the movie and can't wait to go home. Soon after, he remembers his replacement glasses and decides to put them on. However, since they transitioned from flatline 3D to the boring 2D version, Dusty is still not interested, so he decides to take offense at other people around. He sees one of Chloe's friends texting and reminds her that phones are not allowed in the theater. In fact, he creates a small mess that doesn't sit well with other millennials there. Finally, when Dusty still refuses to give in, Chloe tells her friend to stop using the phone so they can watch the movie in peace. Dusty thinks he won, completely oblivious to the fact that he's embarrassing his niece in front of her proud friends. As the film progresses, Dusty becomes more and more bored. In one scene, he notices something unusual, as if the screen is faulty. But when he pays for the replacement glasses, there is nothing there. Confused, Dusty wants to try on the Cinethrax glasses to experience a true movie, so he asks Chloe to borrow hers. However, she is tired of her uncle's childish antics and scolds him directly, embarrassing him in front of his friends, asking him to behave normally. With no choice, Uncle Dusty puts on the replacement glasses and continues watching the movie. Suddenly, he notices a giant snake-like creature peering through the screen. Not all the millennials in the theater fully recognize the existence of this worm, but Dusty sees it clearly. Frightened, he quickly takes off his glasses, and with that, The worm disappears. A few minutes pass, but the worm is nowhere to be seen. So Dusty suspects it has something to do with his 2D glasses. He puts them back on, and as soon as he does, a giant worm attacks him with its wonders. Dusty screams in fear, causing chaos inside the theater. He also drops his popcorn on Chloe and her friends, making them angry. The millennials start calling him names, but Dusty is sure something unusual is happening in the theater. He tries to explain this to Chloe, but as expected, she doesn't believe him. Instead, she is embarrassed and expresses regret for bringing him here. The hype quickly attracted Synthrax executives. Zach approached Dusty and pushed him away, much to the others' delight. Concerned for her uncle, Millennial Chloe followed him. Outside, Dusty tried to explain that something came out of the screen and approached him. However, Zach concluded that the old man simply mistook the surreal 3D action for a movie. Dusty was convinced he saw a worm-like creature. Finally, it was decided that he would get his money back and leave. To his surprise, Chloe refused to leave. Instead, she blamed her uncle for repeatedly embarrassing her to be the center of attention. With that, she left him and returned to the stage. Dusty tried to chase after her, but Zach stopped him, saying he couldn't go in. Unbalanced, helpless, and heartbroken, Uncle Dusty decided to wait for Chloe. The video ended, but since he couldn't wait in the lobby, Zach took him to the screening room. There, Zach and his colleagues began to talk about how Synthrax had revolutionized surrealist films and photographs. The days of old-school 2D movies were over. 3D had taken over. They also asked Dusty to try it, and if he didn't like it, they would give him his money back. Zach then handed Dusty a pair of Cinetrax glasses, but after careful consideration, the latter refused. Because of this, Cinetrax employees suddenly became angry and turned into zombie-like creatures. They attacked Dusty, almost managing to pierce him with a sharp object, but he escaped their grasp. How did he do it? He simply pulled a rotten hamburger from his pocket and placed it on the possessed zombie's body. Dusty ran into the main hall, trying to find a way out of the building. However, this was impossible because all Cinetrax employees had become zombies and were on the move for him. Dusty walked into the store, ready to do something he hated. First, he sent Chloe some text messages, apologizing for being such an idiot and admitting that he was afraid of losing her. He warned her of impending danger, but before she could respond, Zach and the others burst in and took her away. Meanwhile, Chloe began to feel guilty for scolding her uncle earlier. She waited for the next message, but it didn't come. When she found the glasses on the floor, she took them and tried them. Lo and behold, she noticed a creature with giant tentacles on the screen, sucking the life out of all the other millennials. That meant Chloe was the only uninfected person in the room. Startled, she took off her glasses and tried to escape, but all the infected millennials started following her. A great battle unfolds, and all hope seems lost. Fortunately, with the aid of the sword decorations, Chloe manages to defeat hundreds of infected millennials before even entering the exam room. There, she notices her uncle tied to a chair and finally realizes that he had been telling the truth. However, before she can assist him, Zach and the others arrive and arrest her. Zach has since revealed the mastermind behind all the mayhem, an alien from another galaxy who came here to expand his species. Zach mentions that getting infected was the best thing that happened to him because now he doesn't feel pain or anxiety. He encourages his uncle and niece to accept the changes, claiming that the aliens want to help them overcome their miserable, boring lives. He forcibly takes a pair of Synthrax 3D glasses from Dusty and forces him to watch a movie that would obviously turn him into one of them. Fortunately, Chloe intervenes just in time and stabs the alien with a piece of broken glass. This temporarily stuns the infected zombie, allowing Chloe to free her uncle from the zombie's grasp. Unfortunately, before they can escape, Zach releases a tentacle from his mouth, which seizes Chloe and starts possessing her. Soon, her face begins to transform, suggesting that aliens have entered her body. Uncle Dusty, in a heroic move reminiscent of an 80s action hero, picks up an axe and decapitates Zach. However, the damage is already done. The two manage to reach the exit, and when Dusty opens the door, He sees that the city outside has been destroyed by a giant alien. It finally dawns on him that the world has been invaded by extraterrestrials. Meanwhile, Chloe undergoes a transformation in her behavior and urges her uncle to accept the inevitable reality. She admits that Zack was right, there is no pain or worry in this altered life. Other millennials, along with Cinetrax employees, arrive and try to persuade Dusty to accept the changes. They even sing a song to help change his mind. Finally realizing there is no hope, Dusty gives in and starts singing the song. In the last scene, everyone returns to the room where the same movie plays. Chloe, now completely obsessed, gives her uncle a pair of Cinetrax glasses so he can accept the change and survive. The film ends with Dusty impatiently waiting for the alien to arrive and possess him.